Good
All right,
afternoon.
let's call this meeting to order at 6:30. Do we have a motion to open the meeting?
I move
Make a
that we
motion
open-
to open the meeting.
Is there a second? Roll call vote. Robert,
Yes.
Vicky.
Yes,
Yes, I will vote yes as well. All right, the meeting's open. Let's go to approval of the meeting minutes for February 25th. I reviewed them back when you sent it, so I didn't see anything. Whenever you feel good, obtain a motion.
I
Yeah, I
move
don't see
that we
anything on
accept, I moved that we accept the meeting minutes from February 25th, 2025.
Is there a
Second,
second?
second.
Any discussion? Let's roll call vote. Robert,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes as well. John Page is not here.
unless he's
Uh,
car 120C, but I don't
No,
think that.
no, I did talk with him today. He said he wasn't going to make this meeting, but he'll be
Okay.
here in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, did John give any input or anything? The next thing on the agenda is reorganization of the zoning board of appeals. So he didn't say anything?
No, sorry.
It wouldn't be appropriate if I took a role because as of July 1st, I'll no longer be a full member. Like I said, I'm happy to, I'm not excited, but I'll do it to be an associate member just to make sure you guys have a quorum, so that you can keep business going. You only need 3 people for a business meeting, but you've got to have 4 for a special permit or a variance or something like that, some sort of action. So technically you'd kind of need me till you get some other. So which one of you wants to be the chair?
Well, I'm willing to be the chair. I've have experience running meetings as a manager, and I've been, I think it's 3-4 years now. So
Okay.
I have, I've been through enough. I've been through some of the different scenarios. I do appreciate all that you've done, Darlene and Bill, and that it's a big loss that it's not having Bill. I understand he's put way more into the ZBA than anyone would expect, and he's going to be greatly missed because he's got this amazing library of. Remember when back in 98?
That's amazingly helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hate to see the 2 of us kind of stepping down at the same time, but Vicky, you've been on a little while, so you've had some of that. And it's not like you couldn't reach out to one of us and say, hey, this is something from the past. Can you fill me in? Or even as taking on the role of chair, if you had any questions, it's not like we can't help each other out. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I know it's been 30 years. It was like 1995.
Wow.
And it goes by fast.
Yeah.
no, I support Vicky. I think she should be the chair. It makes perfect sense. She's been there long enough. She knows enough, and I
Okay.
will support her as much as I can.
Thank
Beth,
you.
do you want to see a motion for each position, or can we make one motion for all of them? What do you
One motion for all is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can do that. Robert, do you want to do the vice chair?
Whoa.
Yep.
All that means is that if Vicky's not around, it goes to you to run the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
fine. Yeah.
And then we do have a clerk position, which what does the clerk actually do? I know
They read they read the, typically what I've been doing as clerk is reading the, I don't want to say the news, but
The legal notice.
the legal notice, the
You got
legal
it.
Yeah,
notice,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay, other than that,
and
so why don't we make John the clerk? And, he should have been here, but.
He'll be fine with that.
yeah,
He could have been chair, you know?
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
we did that one time. Somebody wasn't here and we just changed everything around. So one of you could make that motion to put the names with the titles.
Make a motion to have Vicky be chair and Rob Usula to be vice chair and John Page to be what?
clerk.
Clerk.
And do you want to second that, Vicky?
I'll second that.
Awesome. All right. We already discussed it, so why don't we take a roll call vote? Vicky,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. So that motion passes. And the next order of business is Kids Country Playground. So take it away.
So,
How do I say your name properly? Kieran?
Kieran, yeah, it's
All right.
it's close enough. You can call me anything, doesn't matter. So I'm
Anything
easy
but
going.
late for supper.
That's right. That doesn't happen. I'm a good eater. So, again, Kieran, Housing and Grants Administrator for the Land Use Office with Beth and Colby, those guys. Do you folks know about Kids Country and what the concept is, or do you want me to introduce the idea? What background do you have that could be helpful with to sort of lay the land here?
I did see a presentation, I think one of the special town meetings. I can't remember it's when, but it's probably good to review.
Sure.
It may have changed.
So I think it was back in January-ish, right around then. The previous land use coordinator, Aaron Steffield, had shared with the town that the town had been awarded a couple grants for new playground equipment up on Turnpike Street there at Kids Country, right at the intersection of Eastman and Turnpike. That playground is about 25 years old. It's a Miracle manufacturer. It's lasted quite a bit of time, weather, storms, and children and adults who've played on it over time. Unfortunately, it's at a bit of disrepair now. It's got some active rust, some sharp angles, and in our current day, it's not really an accessible playground for those folks with varying needs or whatever it might be. It's not quite accessible for everybody, which is something the town was awarded a grant to hopefully change. That has led us to scoping out new equipment, sensory equipment and different designs with a couple different state contracted vendors. I believe the playground committee has narrowed it down to one, but I'm going to leave that decision up to them. My charge sort of here tonight is to share with you that a condition of the grant is pulling that park parcel out of the school-owned land and into its own parcel to be overseen, I believe, by Parks and Recreation, the Parks Department for Townsend. And that is something that would, we have some drawings I shared with Beth, the town administrator, and a few other folks in terms of what it looks like. So the drawings, it's a real small parcel in the grand scheme of things, and it's not a conforming parcel by any means. There's not enough frontage. There's not enough relief, as the town council called it. And, you'd be essentially taking a non-conforming parcel to make it more non-conforming with some of the town council's concern. So he thought it would be wise to at least get it on the zoning board of appeals sort of radar, discuss it, see what questions you might have as we start to look towards finalizing a proper boundary and a subdivision type plan that says this parcel is its own parcel. and it's okay, and we're going to deed it to the, Parks Group so they can have this playground completed, because that's a condition of the PARC grant, which is an accessibility grant the town's been awarded. Long story short, it's about a $380 or so thousand dollar playground that needs about $15 or so thousand dollars worth of survey work and legal work and volunteer work to get it across the finish line to make it its own entity.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's no plan to put a bathroom in there, is there? I mean, that's probably up to
The town council standards. So
Sun's coming right through my.
But the rest of the land, the baseball fields, they just did whatever the T-ball fields, whatever they are. That's all that property is school property? Is that right?
Correct.
What is the ownership? So Spalding Memorial School owns that whole parcel?
That whole big triangle.
And what about the front part of it that the fire department, there's a couple of monuments.
the
there.
triangle, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm not sure that the school
Interesting.
owns it. I don't know how they set that up with the regional school. Whether it's like a long-term lease, or how they worked it.
I think Spalding might have some, there's going to be a lot of legal discussion there, because I think there's some, like, what you can do with the Spalding school. And that may or may not include the land, but it's funny how, my brain's just going zoning wise, permanent structures. And is a swing set a permanent structure that you would have to have like setbacks and frontage for? That's interesting. We've never, ever had that question, had to deal with that.
Yeah.
So
when this the playground was originally constructed, was there anything done at that point? I think it would have been sometime after I don't remember what was constructed. Do you?
So about 25. The playground's about 25 years old, so right around 2000 or so.
Right. So so it never came up to the ZBA for anything.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the time, it was installed by volunteer effort, which is tremendous. But, of course, nowadays we want a licensed installer to install it to make sure everyone's, it's just, the volunteer effort these days is a little different than what it used to be back in the day. So,
well, that just makes everybody want to ask more questions.
I know.
What are the questions
Yeah.
before the answers, Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's it can create some headaches. Town council has said, if you don't approve of the process, or it slows down too much, we sort of risk losing the grant money. Is one unfortunate aspect of this. There's an expiring time that we have to work through this.
Where's the grant money coming from?
Yep. So $100,000 is coming from the PARC, which is a handicapped accessible grant fund. $15,000 was raised by the Parks and Recs group, like a private donation.
Sure.
32 or so $1,000. Don't quote me on these exact numbers. Are one-time like ARPA free cash funds.
Okay.
And the remainder is a state. I don't know the acronym off the top of my head. It's a state fund that's picking up the rest of the tab. I think it's about $225,000 or $40,000 in that ballpark.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, we're just a smidge under 400K all in on this, which is about the going rate for a park of this size, to be honest. Equipment is not inexpensive. to get it to accessibility standards requires a real detailed, careful installation of rubber matting, and
Yeah.
then, a pathway to get from the entrance to the park, park equipment.
Would this, if things didn't work out in that timely manner, I suppose a couple different things. Maybe you could reapply, but maybe that doesn't work either. If you reapply, are you at the bottom of the list for those kind of funds?
You
Or
are.
are they like, hey, you didn't have your crap together the first time. Why would we do it the second time for you?
That,
But
yeah,
then there's also the CPA new, the thing that the town approved for,
But it's going to take at least 2 years before there's probably enough funds to do
oh, really?
anything. So first you need the committee. There's going to be a committee that assesses.
Yeah, that's on the town, on
warrant.
the agenda. That's going
Yep.
to be formed as soon as we finish town meeting. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a couple of years before it kicks in and accumulates enough. So,
Yeah.
what's your timeline, Kieran?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I checked with town council on this. We sort of have an option A, which is at your next zoning board of appeals meeting, you could vote to approve the drawings that we have from a landscape architect and surveyor as a non-conforming. I don't know the legalese behind this, so I'm not an attorney, but they'll give me some sort of action words for your review. And you could potentially approve those if you felt so inspired. The other option B would be, if we order and invoice the equipment on or before June 30th, that would be, ordering from whomever the supplier is, we could get that part of the grant satisfied, and then we have to start work on the current playground, some type of work project on July 1st in order to get the $100,000 grant. So, and the town highway department has volunteered to start the demo work that day. So the definition of starting work could be just putting up silt fencing and protecting the space. But it has to at least be getting the ball rolling. And then you could potentially meet a few more times and then approve it in hindsight, is what town council said.
Wow.
And I don't have that in writing. He just said, he's like, you could have a few meeting sessions, discuss and make sure everyone feels okay about this. And then, ideally approve down the road. He's like, because otherwise you're giving up a $400,000 brand new park that makes accessibility for everybody in town. I'm like, well, that's a lot of pressure. We want to make sure we're following the right protocols here. But that's sort of,
I didn't know you meant that tight of a schedule.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's, having just started at the beginning of March or so, we think we may have lost a couple weeks of work, back then, but we also were waiting on a surveyor, and I think like there's a few things kind of working against us, but I don't want to lose the funding for the town. I think what a tremendous opportunity to make a place newer and more accessible for everyone, which I think is really not
And
lost.
it sounds like probably safer too for everyone.
Yeah, safer. There are some, if you go out to that park, you'll see, some sharp corners and just tetanus filled rusty panels here and there. So,
Yeah.
but it's not, I do recognize that the timeline's not ideal for a public group that meets, every few weeks and is also going through its own transition, like most of town committees are post-town election. So,
But our job would just be to approve a non-conforming plan as part of this whole school plot, I guess you call it.
it would be approving a cutout of a school of a parcel to a non-conforming status
Okay.
for recreation equipment.
Well, one thing I would say is we would definitely need some guidance from town council on this. So if you do an application in whatever hearing, I would say make them available. So that's
I guess, my one sort of question is, do you feel like there's an appetite to coax
We-
us along, or how should I?
That's not a good, you really can't ask a question like that of us. I mean, our appetite doesn't matter. And this is not in front of us, so we can only say so much. You've kind of put it out there, so we're just trying to get a feel for what it is, but no, trying to word it carefully. Without an actual application in front of us, there's really only so much we could say. I mean, who's going to complain about a playground? What's bad about it?
Mhm.
I guess the criteria, looking at the special permit criteria, what is it going to look like? The traffic, the safety, the view, the this and the that. Those are all the things that we would look at.
Yeah.
Whether we personally like it or not would have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
We're not arbitrary or capricious. Bill would have added that.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
you would want an application from the playground committee, as they are the champions of this project?
Ask town council what to do there, because typically the owner or person of interest, usually, like if someone has let's put a house, put real estate there, if someone has a signed purchase and sale to buy a property, they could do an application. So just make sure that town council's comfortable with you being the
agent.
asking
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a sense for when your next meeting might be?
What do we need? 14 days to let people know, to advertise publicly? So it could get done pretty quick.
Yeah. Working with Beth, she works with the applicants and with us to set up working out the schedule.
Yeah, so it's just
So-
making sure you provide all the answers to the questions in the application and look at that special permit, that non-conforming and special permit criteria. Just make sure you're addressing all those points. If you address them all, cool.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, in the past, when we've received applications, there'll be an attached letter, and they walk through responding each of those, and that's been helpful in us, being very clear what we need to do or how we need to respond, instead of us speculating. Like particularly size of the lot, what it's near, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Great.
Beth, since this is a nonprofit, right, entity, is there anything we can do to help them with the application fee? I mean,
No.
I think our application fee, though, I mean, we've got to pay. It does cost us money to process. So I don't know if there's anything like that.
Yeah,
if it's
I think there
available.
is. I think there is. I'll look it up though. I think for a town government, then they can we can have the fee waived. But I think I may have to call you to ask first. So I'll look into that though.
Yeah,
this
see
week.
what the criteria is.
Okay.
I mean, it's nothing compared to all the other expenses you have, but
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
but still, if it was for some reason legally or whatever a negative, you're out the money and you don't have those funds coming in to pay for your project or expenses.
I'm not necessarily trying to put you in a hard spot. I'm just trying to figure out how to relay it up the different committees and all that stuff.
Beth can walk you through all of that,
Yeah,
all the procedural part of it. That's what she
Sure.
does.
Sure.
And make sure you're all up to snuff before we open a public hearing.
Mhm.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for the heads up.
Thanks.
We'll see. Hopefully it's a nice shiny playground come the fall.
Yeah. Hope so. Yeah. And thanks for the preview.
Any other
Yeah.
questions?
Got my marching orders. I'm ready to go.
All right. Sounds good. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's move on to 2.3, Townsend Open Space and Recreation Plan.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
have, Beth?
real quick. We had the public information and input session today at the senior center, and it was really nice that we had MRPC came in and did just to gather some feedback. They passed out the questionnaire and trying to just gather some information on what's important to the aging community. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the questionnaire. I put it in your packets. But that is the last piece of the approval process for the open space and recreation plan. So big hurrah. We just submitted all to the state, and I have the results of the survey. So if you guys want to take a look at that, I'll put that in your packets too. Just in general, what folks are excited about and activities and programs that are our favorites. So that's a big milestone. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
Do we have any correspondence or announcements?
I just put in there the open house for the water department on May 20th, and I put the town warrant in. Just as FYI, I guess that's going to another night. So, and then there's a note in there that the Townsend Water Department has been awarded a nice award from DEP. They've been recognized for basically an excellent service for 2024 for all the work they did, and you can read about that in your packets or on the website. There's a news flash on the website, and that's it.
Okay. What are we doing to try to, I know all the boards are having the same situation. We need volunteers in town, really, really. So, we're seeing it on the zoning board. If you guys, Vicky, Rob, if you know anybody that wants to get involved, even if they weren't willing to commit to being appointed for, a 5-year term, if they wanted to do an associate, we have those available, and just kind of get your feet wet and see if you like it. I know Lori's been, one of our selectmen has been saying stuff, and I actually have someone I'm going to call.
Thank you.
Someone was on the planning board years ago, and I bumped into him, and he's retired. He's like, I was thinking blah, blah, blah. And I go, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Yes.
And so
Great.
I don't know, I'm going to reach out to a couple. You never know. Some people appreciate that. If you reach out personally, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't really think about it. So
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know. I know it's on the web. Are they on the website and stuff like that? Is the clerk putting, or whoever's in charge putting that out there?
They should be posted on the website. But it would be nice if there was another way to get the word out there. I do, when people tell me, that somebody might be interested, I do reach out, through an email or phone call and just ask if they're interested. But yeah, so ZBA will have, the one full position to fill. And then if you'll take the associate, thank you, that will leave 2 other associate positions. So that would be fantastic.
Really, if you guys think about it, a lot of what we do has been special permits for accessory apartments. And that's not in our purview anymore. It'll be the planning board just to go over the criteria as a matter of right. So it's a lot off of our plate, really.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
And the FEMA floodplain district also was switched over to the planning board. Not that I remember doing a lot with that. It was always, ZBA as the SPGA, and now it's the planning board after the vote of town meeting. So,
sure.
yeah.
Great.
So,
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys, for getting the work done today. We'll, do you want a motion to adjourn?
thank you.
Yeah, we should.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right. Roll call. Robert, how do you feel about that?
Good idea. Yes.
All right. Vicky?
Yes.
Yes, as well. The meeting's over. Everybody have a marvelous evening.
You
Thank
too.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.